I just can't stop thinking about you. You got me feeling some type of way. You make me wanna stay in on it. You're the reason I can't get out of my head. I just can't stop thinking about you. 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 I just can't stop thinking about you.
Head underwater, falling back into you. I thought we'd be smarter, I got nothing left to lose. You said you fall with me, no matter how far it goes. Down deep and under, we're stuck in this pattern, but I need you close. All I ever wanted was for you to prove me wrong. You're changing our colors again and again. I could never let you go. Something about you feels so different, makes me wanna risk it. Every time I look at you, you pull me back into your river. Swim a little deeper, I don't need to breathe with my head underwater. Don't know the reasons, I'm not sure.
Shot for goal, shot for goal, shot for goal, shot for goal! Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you may be tuning in from. Welcome to Shot for Goal. I'm Stef from the Pazzo alongside Noot Brinkworth, and we're here to bring you a little taste of the action of what's happening around the world of Ultimate. A whole pile of stuff going down after a massive tournament in Portimao, WBUC. That will be what we focus our attention on. There's some upcoming tournaments. There were some other tournaments on the other side of the world too. We will touch on them and maybe push them off for next week. That is in regards to AMUC Div 1 and 2 and Nizuuk NZUK Div 1 and 2. We will come back with some locals next weekend, but there's enough to unpack from what happened at WBUC, Noah.
There absolutely was. You have 10 divisions, whole bunch of games, a week of Frisbee, there's always going to be some exciting games. We had a few chances for the Americans to get tested, which was wonderful to see. Some going one way, some going the other way. I think we need to jump into this women's division and the business end of this women's division first, Steph. This is potentially where all the chat is. Women's semi-final.
Women's division. Why are people talking about it? No, what's going down? Am I out of the loop here? But did something happen in the women's division? Was it a semi-final or something?
I heard there was a semi-final or something between the US. Our semi-finalists were the Netherlands, France, Canada, and the US. France and the US on one side of the bracket, Netherlands, Canada on the other. Netherlands dispatched of Canada, and France were leading almost the whole game against the US. And US pulled it back a little bit, and it went to a universe point. Disc was it was American disc, right? And there was some contentious calls, stuff.
There were some contentious calls. There was a layout D by Lison Bourneau that was discussed for having physicality attached to it. Eventually, that call, I believe, was resolved well enough. It did go in French favor. Am I wrong, or did the Americans hang on to that one as well?
No, I believe they hung on to that one as well.
So they hung on to a call. The French ended up getting it back anyways in their own end zone. Sent it most of the way up the field, and then scored and won the game. And everybody rushed the field. There was the whole tournament's worth of spectators around the field. And then they didn't win the game somehow. It was all attention went back to the sideline where the throw came from, out of Lila Petitbon's hands. Maggie Rudens was on the mark, and it was told to be a stall out. And I think this is where the shit went down because it was accepted as a stall out in the end. I think maybe begrudgingly, potentially reluctantly, it was accepted. Where you're shaking your head, Noah. What have I got wrong here about this?
It was contested.
It was
Stall out was
contested
contested.
as a stall out, right? It was contested, but what does a contested stall out do? It just comes back.
Yeah, that's too late though. So you basically gotta huck it and hope, or you've got to try and find a real quick pass. I think coming back in 8 is even more tough in beach, right? Because it takes a little longer for the cut to get set up, or like to actually get free. And so I think it lends itself for the same throw to go again, which it did. And on the second time of asking, the throw did go up, and it was incomplete, which gave the disc to the US.
And I mean, that throw was catchable. It was
Mm.
the same throw from Petitbon to Valet. Valet missed the second time, and after the miss, the throw, a couple throws later, a deep shot went to Malinowski. She beat Chloe Olivier in the air. And after what seemed like a French win, a major ousting of the USA in yet another division, before anyone could really understand how these calls materialized, the U.S. had gone and won the game that was seemingly won by the French women. And so, yes, it was a contested call. I think what was not said was that it should have been a fast count. Uh, but yeah, I mean, the fact that it was contested and then it ended up being a fast count, well, the French did not take kindly to this after the fact. I mean, first things first, put a timer on it. It was 7.21 seconds. In a world where stall counts are routinely fast when you go back and time them, there's a lot of people saying, well, okay, it's a fast count, it happens all the time. Uh, the French went to the WFDF. I think they appealed to have the game given back, of which the WFDF asked the Americans if they wanted to change their mind and essentially forfeit their win after they'd done it. The Americans were not interested in that, and after that, it's been a backlash of social media thrashings. Basically, the French have expressed their opinion, starting from all of these players, not all the players, but a large percentage of these players have used their personal accounts to post against the U.S. and it's quite slanderous, is the easy way to say it, calling them cheaters, cheats, not worthy. It was our game. That's the tip of the iceberg. But those posts have been shared, spread around, and it was what is always a partisan crowd in a final was maybe the most partisan crowd ever, particularly when there was a stall out against the U.S. and the Dutch in the final, to see the entire crowd tapping their head doing the stall out sign was, I mean, it was theater. It was awesome, but it didn't really change things for the French. And I guess like where do you go with this story now? Like, can people stay sour grapes on this? It's the amount of times the Canadians get called out for being cheats, and that is it. The big cheat finger is being pointed more often than not. Anytime there's a contentious call that has an effect on the end of the game, that has a result or an effect on the result, and this is maybe the biggest one. And now people are saying, okay, now add the U.S. to that list of countries that cheat, and it's a bit rich, but you kind of understand it after these games. It's a tough one to slice, really, and I'm gonna bounce it over to you to see what your opinion is thus far, because I think I've given bits and pieces of mine, but I think the U.S. are at fault. That was a call that should have had the potential to stay. To that, in the end, after watching it back, it's easy, but they didn't have that benefit of video replay when it was happening. And I think the biggest problem is that Lila Petitbon needed to be able to express the potential for a fast call in that moment, and that in itself is a problem too, and then potentially part of the problem of our whole sport and officiating system, for what you need to know for your rules and knowledge in the most stressful moments of a game, the most intense moments, to be able to like come up with the exact response to something like that, just makes it hell to be able to kind of express what you believe justly. Well, it's not easy, and when it spirals out of control like this, it's just easy for the punters, for everybody to say, yeah, U.S. are cheaters. There's a notion of it. Are the U.S. total cheaters? I don't believe so. Does this situation make it look like it? Yeah, sure.
I got lots of thoughts on it. I think firstly the layout D. I thought it was completely clean when I watched all of the angle we had on the broadcast stream. So we had like Kalakovic's angle and we had the drone angle. But when you look at the Cam 1 angle, which is on a separate stream, I think it's quite clearly a foul. So I think in that case that Olivier did initiate contact with the American player, and I think that's a standard foul call, which should keep the disc in the hands of the US, really. They turned over afterwards, which without a call. The stall out was, yeah, I think I'm right there with you, Steph. I think it's about 7.4, 7.5 seconds. I think, yeah, all the discussion was whether she got it out before 10, right? So fast count wasn't called. I think there's some level of misconception that in the rules that like you can't make claim to a fast count call once the once you're discussing a stall out, that you have to call fast count before, which I don't think which is not completely true. Like, if fast count is a good reason why you should be like, no, that wasn't a stall out. So whether the US player's going to listen to that. The US player didn't seem to take the opinion of the game advisor, and I think in a tournament where I thought the game advisors performed slightly better and were more willing to give perspective and seemed to give perspective quite well on the beach, I thought. There's here and there, like, it's a person by person thing as well. There are some game advisors who are better and give better perspectives and are clearer than others, but in general I saw a mild improvement, or actually a fairly sizable improvement last time. So it's disappointing that the player doesn't accept the unbiased perspective of the game advisor, but
hang on, Noah.
then, yeah.
We're talking about this was still about the Borno layout.
No. The game advisor, I believe, gave perspective. I believe there was game advisor perspective on both calls, no?
I didn't realize that the game advisor had given their perspective that it was a stall out, that it did hit T. If that's the case, then
no, the game advisor gave perspective
the US
that
are running out of legs to stand on.
That it was not a stall out, is I believe what the perspective.
The game advisor said no stall out.
I believe so, but
then this is sour grapes for France. Like, I mean, that's bad game advising, I guess, is what you say in a tournament where they did play better, or whatever you call it,
No, no, the game
advise
advisor's
better.
going with the France, right? Because France is saying they're saying it shouldn't be a stall out, therefore the throw is valid, therefore it should be a France win, is what the game advisor was saying. If I'm correct, I'm only like 80-90% sure, so I was sure I was correct. When the game is this kind of huge, there's kind of all a drama and a narrative built around it. I think that it's like it's hard to pass out exactly what happened. We didn't have it on the mainstream, and that was, I think, that was a massive mistake from us. Unfortunately, after the fact, you can never know which game's going to be close, but it would have been really nice to have it on the broadcast field, so we have the game advisor mics, and so that we have all the different angles of everything that happened. Hopefully, that plus a video board could help some of these calls be resolved in a better way. We'd also be able to give direct feedback of how long the stall count was if it was on the broadcast field pretty quickly. But yeah, so I think it was 7.4 seconds. And then the question is to whether that is like a normal stall out. And, I was like in the perspective that like stall outs are frequently called at kind of a bit too early. So I just didn't really seem that bad to me. I was talking to Ashio on the train home actually from Bold Beach, and he said that he thought that the idea that stall outs were really fast was more of an American exclusive thing, and then in fact in Europe that he mostly experienced stall outs that were correctly timed at 9 to 10 seconds, and that he had to continually call fast count when he played in the US or when like they went to US Open and other US things. So I don't know, Steph. I've got like loads of thoughts. I've got the thought that it should have been a goal. I don't think it's nearly the most egregiously badly spirited thing I've seen at tournaments like this, or at like, at tournaments I've seen broadly. I think it's like, I think I would find it difficult if I was the US to give the game back after the game was kind of decided. I always wonder why the team in this France perspective don't just like basically spirit timeout and kind
That's
of
a good
stall for
question.
time until there's more information about the individual call, right? Because if you spirit timeout and like delayed the game for 10-15 minutes, you ask the player, like you really try and interrogate the player about why they're not taking game advisor perspective. Well, maybe we've got some
Yeah,
like sideline perspective that we can start piecing together how
then you
long
get a
each call
clock on it.
was. Yeah, and like, so I'm always surprised that people kind of don't do that. But then people think they're just gonna like they're gonna get the disc back. They've got the disc in their hands and they're gonna score and win. So it's like there's so
Yeah,
many
I
things.
mean, it hurts. And then, like, when Chloe Olivier did get scored on in the end, like, there was probably a tiny bit of contact, and it took everything within her to not make a shit call. You could see her, like,
Mm,
putting her arms up and saying goal, like, took everything out of her. Like, she made the right call. There was no foul on that play, like a little bump, but that is all that is fair in love and war and ultimate. And she made the right call in a hard moment, but based on the way that game played out, you almost could have understood if she reciprocated with a shit call of her own and said, "Well, I'm not going to give up this game if I can manipulate it with a call too." Not saying, I will not say that Maggie Rudens did believe that she was cheating on the mark, but I will say that she should have had there should have been a way to put that into better perspective. And would that had that been, yes, a spirit timeout would have been good. Had that been, yes, the word fast count became discussed, or had that just been like a refusal to accept by the French, like, no, like, we know that that was good. And if you're gonna spend all this time throwing mud after, that's when you can just do it then. Like, we think you're cheating. Right? That has to happen on the field. Like, you're cheating your way to this win. We have to have a spirit timeout. And in the moment, it didn't happen. And it just seemed like it was irrevocable. You could not take that back once it was done. And it's a bloody shame. and that's really all it's left with. The U.S. go on and take a championship. Is it tainted for them? Probably not. In a year from now, are people going to remember exactly the way they moved through the semis? Probably not. They'll look to ultimate reference. They'll see another championship for the U.S. women, and it'll probably be left with that.
I think, Steph, that it's going to stay in the minds for at least 2 years. I think it's going to set up for a great 2027 World Beach if it's held in Europe. I think that these events, that if they get held in US, it's kind of like it's kind of a struggle to get players out there, and that is, yeah, it's a shame, but like that is kind of the reality of the situation. So I think it's going to be cool. I think that, like, one, it's cringe that like how the French players have reacted in a little bit. I think it seems a little childish. Two, I think it's equally cringe the like the sort of outrage people have about a sports player calling another sports player a cheat. I think that more people need to be accused of cheating because people cheat frequently all the time. Being called a cheater is just being called someone who cheats in sports, and I think that we frequently like see people cheat in the game and make really bad calls, like, and I think that even if like you can even be a cheater even if in your heart you think that you're correct, if you're just way off the mark, then you cheated, right? Like, I don't think that a 7.4 second stall is necessarily that heinous a crime, right?
Yeah, exactly, and that's
If
it.
it was
I think that
if it
happened.
was like a 5.4 second stall, right? Then I think
But where do you draw the
you like.
line? Where does that line draw, Noah?
I was talking to
6.4,
I was
six point
talking to
nine,
Aiden about
seven
like
point
how
one.
short of would the stall have to be before I would feel a sense of like where I feel like the Americans should have gone into that conversation with Duff and retracted their win and given France the win. Because if it was like 5 seconds, right, I think they have to like see that they've stolen the game, basically. But I think 7.4, where we're at is like close enough where I think you just gotta let what happened on the field stay. And I think maybe it's somewhere in like the 6 region, like somewhere in the sixes, where it's like you go from being counting fast because that's the nature of the game, because that's the nature of your heart rate and your breath rate, and that start keeping you to like doing something that is just completely outside of the realms of
Mm.
how normal stall counts are called.
You know,
Like
to me, all
if
this does it puts the whole rule set right back into question, which seems to happen every time there's a Hungary versus Singapore, there's a Japan versus Canada. Now we get a USA France women's game, and something heinous affects the outcome, and the whole rule set is put back into play. You know, like I would love there to be a world where there's somebody who could like start a clock every time there's a disc that exchanges, and they're assessing the 3 meters on the mark. But that is a whole world away from any potential of being able to happen. Like, it is wild. Like, 7.4 is 25% too short. We see in the comments. But future outcomes is it. How do we prevent this from happening again? It's happened. It is tough to even comment on this. It is. There's nothing cut and dry. It shouldn't have happened. It did. The way the rules are set up, I think France had an opportunity to be able to counter it, but they didn't do it right then and there. And that is like basically a lapse in rules and knowledge, even though it goes back to the US who like made the wrong call. You got to be able to counter that call properly, which is part of the confusion of our self governed game.
I think, Steph, I have a rule change that people may agree with. Like that,
Okay,
it's not
let's hear it
the
now. Let's hear it.
crazy the like. Obviously, we're having people talk about game advisors and observers and self officiation. I think it's right to have those conversations as well. I think that there's another thing we could do around this specific rule that would be way better. And I made a video on Hive earlier this year, or maybe it was last year, about rules changes I wanted to see. And I really regret that I didn't put this rule change in It was something that someone else suggested. I think you know who suggested the guy who suggested it actually is Baptiste. He's taking photos for the French team. He's a friend of the Hive, friend of mine. He made a great suggestion, and it's that like marking infractions currently do not come with enough penalty for them to be worth to call them. Like if someone's like rapping, or if someone's vision blocking, or if someone's fast counting, the time it takes for you to understand that, like logically, say it out loud, and then the stall to get decreased is just not worth the the time you get back, which is you drop the stall by 1. So if you're saying stalling 6, you should drop the stall by 1 number. It's 2 seconds. So if you're saying stalling 6, you would say stalling 5 next time. That's just not worth how much effort it is, I feel anyway, to like take yourself out of the moment of the game, stop looking at cuts, work out where you like the mark is breaking the rules, say it out loud, and then like let that resolve, right? So I think that
It's almost like we need a third party for that.
I think for one, let's make that penalty like 4 seconds or 3 seconds even, because I just don't think it's like worth calling fast counts at the moment, because I think it generally makes it harder to complete a pass. Like if you take the time to actually call the fast count and you get that extra 2 seconds of the stall, you've kind of like messed up your rhythm in a way that's disruptive. So let's add it a little bit more. They did the same thing for the contact rule, where it resets the stall all the way to 0, because they want it to be really a massive penalty for if you foul someone on the mark. So it takes the stall all the way to 0. So I think that makes it worth calling contact on the mark. Let's make it worth calling stall out. We might have more honest stalls. At the same time, if we're going to get more honest stalls, we could even reduce the stall out. But the stall count, especially on beach, does feel like 10 is a little while. I don't know what you think about that, but Steph, maybe.
Yeah, I don't hate the suggestion. I mean, there's always needs to tinker with the rules. Sometimes maybe more dramatically is what I start to think more and more is that there should be
Mm,
more input available for people to not have to take themselves out of those moments, like you said. It is a lot being asked of the players to do this in the modern game, where it's getting highly competitive, where people training for this, where it's like their everything, their whole life is on the line. This is not your game. This is your life. Kenny Dobbins quoting, and he's
mm,
back in the day. Now the game has evolved so much. The rules are more complex. The rules are more broken down, and to have to be able to draw on them in these big moments is a bit too tough. And this time, the French periled because of it. They were not at wrong, but it's tough to say that they can point their finger and just call the Americans cheaters in public forevermore, and that they are totally right for that. I am sitting a bit on the fence on this one. I also think we got to probably drop this one, ask the people watching what they think of what happened in their own opinion, what they think of Noah's rule change, how this can be prevented in the future. And yeah, if you want to let us know who's wrong or right in your own humble opinion in the chats or in the comments, please let us know. But I'm not sure how much more we can give this, Noah. What are your final thoughts on this before we move on?
And my final thoughts is that like it felt at the tournament and at that moment and around the finals day and that whole time, it felt like more people were fundamentally questioning the system of Spirit than I thought of ever before. Like I think more and more people openly saying they want their game advisors to be observers, that they want a third party official, that I really think that it isn't like a US versus like Europeans really feeling really like strong that it should continue to be completely self-refereed. I think that there's more agreement that we need to move in the direction of third-party officials from the players. I'm not saying that's my
Bring in the
opinion.
zebras.
I'm not. Yeah, I mean, it felt like that's the way people were thinking. I also think that like if Europeans are gonna, I know it's two different teams, but if Europeans are gonna complain, then I think things like the AJ Merriman versus Ref Yonkers play in the Open final, where AJ clearly gets the layout deep before Ref, and Ref can see that on the big jumbotron screen and still contests it. Like I think we need to be able to do things like be able to play more
Yeah,
fairly. Like people are
there's got to
making
be a way to take these players out of the heat of the moment and make a fair call. Like he saw on the big screen, and he still said he was right. Ben Yacht, Don Demaray in that same final, like uh, egregious foul by Ben Yacht. I thought he came right in,
yeah,
went shoulder to shoulder, took him out, and then
agreed.
watched it with him. They're like, "Well, didn't you see that? Like you hit me." And my commentary is like, "How could he possibly be saying didn't you see that?" But they see it the way they felt it. Like it takes they can't even watching a jumbotron with a full stadium. They've still got a clouded judgment. There's always going to be a partially clouded judgment when your heart is pumping that hard, when it's the big final, when it's everything you've trained a whole year for comes down to these little moments. It makes it so difficult. And to call people a cheater for getting it wrong, there are people with reputations, and when they get it wrong a lot, like, sure, but there are people, I don't believe that was the case in all of these calls. I think that these people believed what they were saying was the truth because that's the way it happened in their head. That's the way, like, the kinesthetic part of the play felt to them. It's what they remember. Even when they rewatch it, they're like, yeah, but I still felt that touch on the shoulder, whatever, and that's what I'm seeing again. So it's clear. It's still clear. And even though the rest of the world is seeing it differently, it's there's a lot to be said to having the game advisors turn to observers, or just having more of a third party opinion that can actively negate or condemn plays that need that. So until then, this is going to be a back and forth problem that our rule set is having a tough time dealing with. Like I think that players, if they do cheat, they should be vilified. That is something that's true. Like I think if you're getting plays wrong, commentators should be calling you out for it. You should be like people should know it should be, but again, I just think that is something that comes with consistency and a one-time thing. I've never seen Maggie Rudens do anything that I know of before that was cheating, or that got a major play wrong. And I think it is fair to say that she could well have been innocently calling that play the way she believed it. But I also know that her judgment would have been somewhat clouded in the heat of the moment. Everyone involved in the heat of a moment, big decision, is going to be seeing things with a shimmer of favor to their benefit.
I think the thing I'll say about the officiation is a way I would like to see it changed potentially is this is a step we could take towards observers. Maybe other people wouldn't say it as a step towards observers. And I think other people would say that we need to take a much bigger step and just go straight to observers or go even past observers. But what I would like to see is that to see if the people would like it would be a trial change where the way the game advisor would work is that if both people agree to go to the game advisor opinion, the game advisor wouldn't give their opinion until both players agreed to go to the game advisor perspective. And then when they did, if the game advisor did have a perspective, which they seemed to actually do this tournament, which was nice to see, that the game advisor perspective was rule. That is like what happens. Like so if like if you're so sure Ben Yacht, and if you're so sure Dan Demaray, or if you're so sure Maggie Rudin, and you're so sure Lila Petitbon, let's go to the GA, and if we're both going to agree, and whatever the GA says stands by the rules, and there's no more discussion after that. The way that's different from observers is for observers, just one person needs to go to the perspective, right?
It detracts from what spirit of the game is built on, but it does give the benefit of a third party and takes away the necessity to make calls when sometimes that's not the best moment for us as human beings to be making calls when everything is on the line. No, let's leave it at that. We've got more to unpack than just this play. I think we could paint this. We could call in guests on this and really beat this one down like a dead horse. I don't think that's what I want to do. We've spent the first half of the show on it, and I want to move on from this play. So let's tidy up the women's division. The U.S. did go on to win. They beat the Dutch in a decent final, but really just got ahead and couldn't stop. There was a stall out that we talked about in that final, but once the U.S. got through that French game, they did, as they normally do, put their best game on in the final. They walked away with that, packaged it up. Dutch take the silver. France went on to beat Canada in the bronze medal game and took home a medal themselves. Shout outs to Poland. I think they put a pretty strong showing together and surprised some teams. They ended up in the sixth spot. Canada women were good. GB started the tournament really good. Maybe pittered off towards the end as the French were heating up and met them to get knocked out. But all in all, a good, improved division with more teams, more competition, and yes, one moment that may have tainted it along the way.
I think that we need to, and I think maybe you, Steph, need to give a little bit of apologies to the French coaching and the French system, and like they look really good in the end. And I think that we've kind of questioned the decisions of Rasta a little bit. Well, I think that maybe we need to say, Rasta, I think you did a pretty good job with this French team.
Yeah,
like
Rasta
you got as close as possible.
Masterclass by Rasta class. Yes, but I did say it. I said it's almost as though it's the French plan to allow their team to play crap and almost insist or coach them into playing crap at their prep tournaments so that they're upset and they get a bad taste in their mouth so that they put their best foot forward in the real one. And that's what happened. So I did kind of say that, but I will go back and apologize and say yes. I mean, not apologize, but acknowledge that I said the French coaching was letting them down at these prep tournaments as far as them advancing. But it did all come together, so they knew exactly what they were doing. And I think I always lean towards that as what I believe might happen, as disappointing as it may have been for all those players in those prep moments.
I think another team that we underestimated in that division were the Canadians. They turned out to be pretty good. Like, I think we made the easy, silly mistake of underestimating Canadian Ultimate's depth. And they honestly brought a really strong squad. They didn't quite manage to do it in the 3-4, but like I don't think we really expected them to get to the semi-final. So even though there was some potentially the best talent on the mixed team, we're going to talk about that next, perhaps potentially. They were pretty good as well. And like, yeah. Steph, next thing from you, who is the best player in this division?
In the women's division?
Mm-hmm.
Lola Dam.
Lola Dam. Above the French?
Yeah. I think Chloe and Lila should be Lison, Lila, and Chloe. Olivier, I think, a step ahead of Valet. Actually, I'd probably still go Lison Bourneau was the best player in the French. All three of those players were awesome, but I think I would take Lison above those two.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Becky Malinowski is the other one that has to be considered. Those would be my top three. Where are you at?
Yeah, I think I'm very tempted by Becky Malinowski. I think it's, and then on the French side, it's again tough between Lison and for me, Chloe Oe. I think that the player who I saw play the best was Chloe Olivier. Even though potentially Becky Malinowski had a better tournament, won the tournament, got a couple winning goals, got some crazy stats. The beach goat in women's, very possible.
Chloe Owe, you think, or Becky
Malinowski? Becky Malinowski.
Yeah, well, congrats to Becky and USA to that end. Commiserations to the French and the Dutch and all others that didn't take it right to the promised land. Some great performances across the board. Let's take it into the mixed division, Noah.
Steph, it was like the best division of Ultimate I can remember. Like, this division was crazy, Steph. It
Yeah,
was so
flipped
so
on
good.
its absolute head. We'll start with the champs, Germany, who lost to India early in the tournament on stream, did not look good. They picked themselves up after that loss and became awesome. So much so that they got a quarterfinal when they were like still being somewhat underestimated. I think they just beat Austria after the India win, and they got the U.S. and they threw everything at them that morning. And that was one of the best games of the tournament. I will say right now, go back and watch Germany USA mixed quarterfinal.
Mm.
But that was the talk of the town. USA eliminated before the semifinal. Never has that happened in 139 USA national team appearances. They have never not made the semifinal. So this is a
Any
major letdown
division,
for
any division, any
any division,
surface,
any. They always at
any
least make the
age.
semis.
Yeah,
So
crazy to see.
a crumbling, if you would, for a team that I already said should have been a redeemed team. They should have been, it's easy to say after that maybe their selection was not at all good enough. I thought as soon as they lost Simon Higgins, their offense was broken. Missing him was tough. A groin niggle took him out, but he was taking up so much space upfield, doing so much of the initiating cuts to get the ball moving. I thought Khalif had a really tough tournament. He looked more than a step or two slower than he's been over the years. You could see it in the game against Canada. Again, they lost another game. They lost to Canada twice.
Hmm.
But you could like Podnar versus Khalif was Podnar was just like getting separation on him on the first step on like cut after cut after cut after cut.
Hmm.
So that team just had so many issues. I mean, fingers have been pointed to the coaching, fingers have been coaching to pointed to the selecting. All in all, they just could not put it together. A three-loss campaign that dropped them all the way to six. They lost their last game too to Canada.
That's still not as many losses that as the silver medal team, though. Australia had. What a crazy fairy tale run for this Australian team. I mean, Steph, they just it was we never really see this, that a team that wasn't really on anyone's radar makes it through. And like, let's see how they got through this. So they
They
had the
were like
pre-quarter
7
final
wins
win.
and 5 losses, Noah, and their 5 losses were in sequence. This is a team that lost 5 games in a row in the tournament.
That's
Like,
so crazy.
how the hell is that team making fun? And then like I saw them, I went over to ask them questions before their final, and they're like, you didn't pick us to do anything. Look at us in the final. I was like, well, yeah, but you got a horseshoe up your ass or something. I still don't know how the hell it happened. I wasn't actually that wrong. Like they were not that good. And by the time they get to the final, they got exposed. But they won the right games. They got Czech after they won a huge game against Canada. They would have been so high and whatever. Maybe not ready for the game. The Australians got them. And you can't just say, oh, they're lucky because they won a lot of games at the end of the tournament. They beat
Well, I think one of the most
India, got
impressive
them, and then they
wins
knocked out
was.
Italy, Belgium, Czech in sequence. And we'll start
Mm,
with Italy because that's another unpacking that we need. Like that should never have happened. Beating Belgium, okay, I get it. Belgium had a nice
yeah.
run to get themselves in that situation. Beating
Surprise
Czech
win
shouldn't
against
have
India.
happened. What's that?
Surprise win against India for the Belgians, I would say. We'd probably expect,
Yeah,
say,
yeah, yeah.
India,
Big win
Italy
against
in that
India for the
quarter.
Belgians. Big upset. Italy, though, Noah, I think that their roster was poorly managed. I thought it was well selected. I thought on paper they were very good. Uh, David Barzazzi was the offensive player of the year on the grass, a runner-up, second runner-up, still third best in Europe. Carmen Lagala, I think the same, or was she first runner-up, offensive player of the year? They were both D-line players. And when
Mm,
Italy was losing big games to USA down 4-0, those two had not played a point yet. When they had a universe point game to advance against Australia, Barsazi, Lagala, and Scazzieri were not on the field. My brain can't register how that happened.
So, like, I'm going to defend slightly having Barzazi not play offense. I think that up until this year, we really the narrative around Barzazi was that he's kind of crazy with the disc, but an incredibly talented player. So he's a D-liner who plays as much as possible, right? And then he went to Moon, and they put him on the O-line, and that was kind of a shock to everyone. And he was awesome on the Moon O-line, but maybe this isn't as much data as we've had for as much.
Do you think that's because Mike Elon was coaching?
Well, no, I know Mikey's sitting right next to you, buddy. But I will say that Barzazi was playing O for Moon the whole way through the season, so I think you have to give.
I mean, I like the twist you get. I like the twist you're giving, but no. Like, you go back to EUC 2020, whatever it was in Limerick. Barzazi played O-line for Italy mixed, and he was like, in the semifinal against Ireland, he had 11 stats. Like, he took over the game on offense and won the game for Italy. Like, I know he's always been criticized for being loose and easy with the disc. I get it, but like, don't put him on the team then. But if you're gonna put him on the team and not use him on O, like, he's not a defender. That's not what he does. Like, he's sure.
I don't agree. I think
if
he
he's
can
never been
surely
criticized
be a
for being
defender.
if he's been criticized for being loose with the disc, he's been more criticized for being lazy on defense.
Okay, sure, but like, that UC team, I think that Barzazi would say that didn't quite have the talent as this beach team had. So it was more of a understandable decision for Barzazi to carry. Now, Stef, I do agree with you that what they did with this team is crazy, because what I didn't like to see is on beach, like, you very clearly have like your O stand-in players, right? Like, if you get broken, you're not going to put the same line out there. You're going to put like maybe one or like you have a 6-person O line or a 7-person O line, and you have 3 D-liners who you like really trust to play offense as well, who you put in with the O-liners who didn't play, and he should be playing that role. He should also be playing like every D point if you must have him play D. Don't run it through 2 D lines, so he plays 1 in 4 points, right? Same thing with Lagala and Scazzieri. Like, even if you want them to play defense,
played O-line for the bulk of the tournament.
Yeah, it's true, but even if you want these players to play D, put them on every D line instead of like half of the D lines or less than half of the D lines. Were they saving him? If they were saving him, to not put him on Universe is crazy. Is crazy. Like, he was so good.
What is the bigger failure? Italy 15th or USA 6th?
USA 6th, by, I think, comfortably. And yeah. The US just have so many resources. Like, I was talking, like, to truly prove the legacy, to really prove his legacy. I think Maddie Sang needs to take over and coach this mixed beach team next time round. If he's truly the guy,
the greatest
yeah,
coach of
if
all
he's truly
time,
the guy,
and says, "All right, you
the hardest
whatever,
division for the
US,
US,
the word for it, but let me take care of this for you."
40% win rate for this US mixed beach team. If he can get this mixed beach team, people have been criticizing Maddie for, like, we lose this year of Fury after having this unbelievable team, this unbelievable run. People think that maybe, okay, they won the World Games, but they've lost games. They've, like, maybe perhaps they use their depth more than other teams do. Maybe this is the one play he can prove it once and for all by taking this mixed beach team and actually winning a tournament with all the best players in the world. But yeah, I think that for me, I think there was a talk that for this mixed America team, there's lots of players on the mixed Masters team or another Masters teams that you'd love to have on this mixed beach team. We're
tell me
talking like
Cammy Groom, Trent Dillon, Chris Kocher couldn't have helped out that team.
Yeah,
Like
Sue,
and that's just
like
tip of the iceberg. Tip of the
Brett
iceberg. Yes,
Matsuka.
yes, tip of the iceberg.
I mean, Brett, how well would have Brett Matsuka been played on this team
Yeah,
after
would have
having
been
no
done
Garvey
a
and no
better job than
Higgins?
a lot of the players out there.
So
So who else is a team that you were, let's talk about like happily surprised with? We said Australia, obviously, getting the silver medal. Germany, yes. I mean, Germans had a great team. What about Spain? They fell to Germany. They beat them earlier. They ended up getting fourth. They lost to the Czechs on Universe Point. Is that something that they should be they're not going to be happy with, of course, getting
I
fourth
don't think
place like
so.
that. I think they were, their rostering was a bit too thin. They didn't have enough legs in the end. A couple injuries, and they didn't have the
Hmm.
legs to get to the very end of the tournament.
Yeah, I think that that is the complete, especially on the FNP side stuff. Patricia
Yeah, well,
Navasa
we
obviously came to the
praised.
tournament late, so they didn't have her for much of the tournament. Druki went out with a lower ankle injury late in the tournament. Marta
She
Ortiz
did
was
come
on
back.
crutches. Yeah, she did
Ortiz
come
was
back,
done.
but looked was out for a good portion of their most important game and looked a little limited, or one of their most important games. So yeah, it was a tough campaign for the Spanish. It's a
Estonia
team
did
that
pretty
needs
good, I
to.
thought, to make the round of 16.
I mean, Steph, if we're looking for
They
teams who did well, we got to talk about the Czechs. Czechs came
Yeah,
third.
Czechs are their bronze medal is huge. I think the
Absolutely
Czechs
huge.
and they probably should have beat Australia. They should have probably had a silver medal out of this. Like as
Hmm.
well as they did, they still had one game that I thought shoulda, coulda, would have been theirs. But yes, the Czechs, their first ever international medal is what I've read. Heads should be held high. They had an awesome campaign. They should be the top of that list of teams that went really well. Slovakia as well. I mean, Slovakia 10th place. That's a great finish
That's
for.
pretty good for them.
Yeah, great
I mean,
finish for a small nation. Kametsova, Molnar, Bakrati. They have some stars on that team, but they don't have like international depth that has, world experience from top to bottom of that roster. I think that's a big finish for them.
I think the Czechs that record for the Czech Steph, surely that's worlds, right? Didn't they get bronze at UC in women's?
The
Or did they come
EUC,
fourth?
yeah, but not W.
Yeah, but
No
not W.
W's.
It's their best W performance for sure. And that's
Yes.
crazy to say that they did that without Christina Slusta, who was playing on the
Yeah,
women's side.
one of the
So
best Czech players played women's, and they got it done. They were great. Let's flip over to the open division, Noah.
yeah, I mean, last thing to say,
Uh,
I think we have to mention this India team one more time, who beat Czech, Australia, and Germany, all the top three seeds, and yet didn't finish in the top 8. That is super unfortunate for them.
yeah,
They
that's
they
winning the
in
wrong
the way that
games.
Australia, yeah, Australia won the right games, India won the wrong games. They finished 11th in the tournament.
Yeah,
In
happy
fact, no,
to
Steph,
give
there's
that
one more
shout out.
tournament. There's one more thing we need to talk about. The Canadian team. This Canadian team beat America twice.
Yeah,
We haven't said
twice.
anything about this Canadian team.
Yeah, they were great. Anushka Bodri in that. Which one was it? Was it against? How far back did we have to go for the
Power
Bodri game?
pools.
That was
Power
Power
pools
Pools
is
against.
the U.S.
Who were they playing? Come on, load computer. But yeah, Beaudry was awesome. I thought Justin Podnar was awesome. I think it's the first time I can give nothing but praise. I don't think any of the calls were off. I thought everything I saw out of Podnar was the goods. Is the best tournament I've seen him play.
Absolutely,
Uh,
I'm with you.
yeah, they were. Cantoli was a great steadying presence for them. They were good all around, top to bottom. Canada was a good team. I can't believe they lost to the Czechs. I was shocked about that, but it came as the second shock because the U.S. lost in that round too. So it was
Mm.
like the lesser shock when it happened.
I mean, outs also to Collie Mott, who I thought played a fantastic defensive game, and to Christophe Tremblay Yoncas, who is a player I knew basically nothing about, who was a super great deep threat for this Canadian team and helped them beat the US not once but twice, Steph. Let's jump over to Open.
Yeah, Yeah, beating US twice is crazy. Kevin Underhill, another strong performer. He was really good, kind of running the O line. There was a lot of just Anushka and Underhill were taking over together. So
Yeah.
final shout out there. Yeah, open division. USA get the win. They had a superhero kind of roster. They awesome on paper. The French took them to Universe, and then I think people started to see that there's some potential vulnerability. Okay, maybe they could lose. They had actually France led the entire game until the U.S. won on Universe. Holzmeyer got a big block in front of Bonnet, and then they went down the other way. Holzmeyer scored to Rafi Hayes. Uh, it was not France that made the final. It was Belgium, and there was a France-Belgium semi was a humdinger. Also, did that go universe, or was that a 2-point win for Belgium?
That was
It was
Universe.
no, it
That
was
was
universe as
Universe.
well. 11-12. That was yeah. That game was awesome. Bit of a clash of styles. The Belgians in their semi were really stingy with the disc. They didn't give it away. They didn't play so loose. They weren't hucking that freely. I didn't think the French O line style was maybe the most entertaining I've ever seen. They were so loose. Everybody was like in a homogenous kind of situation where they all had a license to shoot. And they were like, "Yeah, my turn. I'm hucking." But they'd all be able to come under. They'd all take shots. Bouchon played really well. Bonnet was good, but didn't stat as well as we've seen him go before. Nemo Corti was good, but he had a very costly mistake at the end. I think Beg Dem had a couple mistakes I saw on the O line, but overall good. Stenguenek is the one who I think played the most out of his skin. He probably was the
Hmm.
best on that O
I
line.
think it's. I think for me, it's between Stangwinek and Płatzikolski, and that's harsh on Bouchon, who also had a fantastic tournament. But I saw the most. Like Stangwinek was really unguardable in the deep space. Płatzikolski is just a weapon everywhere. They also kind of held back Ben Venyen until the end of the tournament, which was interesting. That they played a lot of D line at the start and then got those O line reps later. I thought also Leo Cheré doesn't come up as much in the stats, but I think in big moments was often a goal getter on big breaks for them and block getter as well. He had a fantastic tournament and a bit of a breakout tournament for him, I think.
Yeah, I know it was a very tough loss for them against Belgium. They were definitely thinking that they had all the right ingredients to go get a win to be able to take down the U.S., especially after taking them to Universe. So a bit brokenhearted. They did win the bronze game. They beat Canada or sorry, they beat
GB.
GB. They beat GB for the bronze medal. Belgium. Let's talk about the final. I mean, Belgium put up a decent, a really good second half, and an overall decent game. They made it entertaining, but their start was just too flat. The U.S. I mean, were they flat or were the U.S. just screaming out of the gates and not to be stopped? That one is up to the punters to decide. It's a bit of column A, a bit of column B, but U.S. were really good to start the game, and
Mm.
that's the last thing you can do. You cannot give the U.S. any bit of padding in a final. You can barely do it in any round, but in a final, if you give the U.S. an early lead to sit on, they're not going to leave. They're not going to cough it up. It just doesn't happen. Maybe, okay, yes, there are is one or two examples out in the entire history of the sport, but it's still seldom enough that you can say it does not happen.
Yeah, and I think that potentially this Belgian team wasn't quite as scary a matchup as the US. I think if I was the US, I'd be prefer to be seeing this Belgian team versus this French team. It felt when the French O line were clicking that there was basically nothing you could do to stop them. They were so dynamic and like so had threats from every players in every space that it felt like potentially they might have scared the US a bit more. Obviously, they got all the way to Universe and had the disc on Universe versus the US, so yeah, in that respect, I mean, when you look at the Belgian performance, Dan Demarais was fantastic, especially his defensive contributions, getting the disc back after offensive turnovers was really impressive for me. I thought Lander Kran was really good, like super good in the deep space. I thought we saw a great tournament from Gernot, Arne Gernot. I thought Louis Betrancourt was again like one of the most reliable block getting defenders. There's great offensive contributions by Brecht Heymans, who we've obviously known from the last World Beach Championships. This was a good team, Steph. I think
Yeah,
that Belgium
I think
USA
I
is going to
hate
be a
saying
final
it
we
too.
say a lot, but yeah, they're going to get them
I,
one
I,
time.
I hate saying it, and I agree with you. Like Belgium deserved to be in the final; they won a hell of a semi. But France's style probably would have matched up a bit better against the USA if they could get everything going. Their wild, nonstop paced offense, just a very revolver kind of sense to it. Not revolver the team, but just revolver every player, play every position, shoot and attack from every part of the field. I think that may have given the U.S. a little bit more of trouble than Belgium was able to, but that's speculation, and we're not. I'm not going to give too much to that. Looking further down in the division, Poland, I think you got to give them their props. They almost knocked France out in the quarterfinal round. I think Spain maybe disappointed with their performance. They were touted to go deep, deep, but ended up with a tough draw. They got through Italy, but had to face the U.S. because they lost a bit too much early, and they ended up having to settle for fifth place, which is not horrible, but I think they'll still be disappointed. Poland got sixth. Canada faltering to seventh. That was pretty tough, I think, for them. Otherwise, Ireland, I thought were good. They had maybe the most talked about uniforms of the tournament.
The mint
But
pants. Hey, we
yeah,
might see
yeah,
those again in CFC, I think, Steph.
yeah. Those pants were the trading target of the tournament. I know a lot of U.S. players get away with a lot of those green minty pants. No, I think that's probably good to wrap up WBUC for now. I mean, are we going to get into the Masters? There's seven divisions of Masters. I don't think we've got time to unpack this.
We just don't. I think the maybe the most interesting division was GGMs. The
Yeah,
GGMs, but that
John
was an
Hassel. I'll
awesome.
say his name. Hassel, Ochterlony, and the Canadian GGMs were awesome. They knocked off the U.S. as another division. The only other division that knocked off the U.S. was Women's Masters, where Canada knocked off USA as well. So, little shout outs there. USA won the rest of the divisions. So, wah,
Maybe
wah,
we can
wah.
talk a little bit uh, to some Aussies that might have something a little to say about the Grandmasters Aussie performance because they
Yeah.
got real close
Grandmasters mixed.
to beating the US. They did beat them
Lost on
in earlier in the
Universal
tournament.
Sausage Fingers JD and Greeny won a Ulti TV zone. So we'll see if we might get some Aussies on the blower next week as well because Australian mixed and New Zealand mixed nationals at both levels. We'll try and get some Aussies on to talk about that. What we will finish off with is what's upcoming, and that is CFC. No, my favorite tournament. I play at this tournament. And by that I mean I get a whole bunch of young studs and studettes, if that is the denomination for FMP studs. They run around me and do all the hard work, and I plunk myself in every now and again to check a deep hammer and then give the spirit speech. So, but it is the best tournament in the world. Some of the greatest. There's so many good teams there this year. It is still a bit of a mystery. The rosters are not being totally revealed. We have a look at who the captains are. We get an idea of who's on the teams, but we don't really know. I'm going to run down the teams. We got All My Friends, which is like a deep space, and Tifse Tausche team with Iturmendi. Arepita Rayena, don't know. Atistima Gran Canario teams. Look out. Bufa, a Pedro Vargas team. I know he's got them tooled up. Cloud9, El Contratito. They were the champions last year, but under new management. fresh lobster, a Falco Mueller. That they always get a very strong recruiting. There's a gentle team there this time. Sam de Stoop has apparently with Dutch Groot women hot to go. Meva Kusi, that team I've heard they've got a very good looking roster. Last minute, Yannicka Kappelman, Swiss and German team Messiah Complex. I don't know where they are from. Where's SE? Satra
SE,
Patrik.
Sweden?
Yeah, it
Sweden?
could be Sweden. Then there's a Mooncatchers team that Sarah Rahali's putting in, so look out for them. Moved up, Volker Lehmann, a German team. Murcielagos by Nikki Chapman, look out for them. They are always good. A Swiss team by Buddha, so they're going to be old. Randale is another German team. They could have a couple elders too. Salivuelas is an Oscar Gonzalez Betrancourt team, so local, they'll be good. Sandbags is Arnaud van der Oost. That's got the Jet Set guys and the Jinx girls. I know Anna Gerner's on that roster, so they'll be good. Sneakies, Edinburgh team. Stuben Rauschstrasse. They're going to be good. I expect to see them in the final. That's Conrad Schlor, Nico Mueller, Nikki Priyan, Jack Hatchett, Angela Zhu, and a bunch of other really good players. Alti TV, I don't know. They're probably not going to be that good. Don't worry about them. Ultimate Lovers, Benno Kirklow, German team. Wah is a Canton Roger and Basti team. They're going to be good. And then Woody's, maybe a little bit of an old team. That's the whole rundown for you, Noah. Of course, I'm joking. Alti TV team is going to be good.
Yeah, I think that if OTTV cannot win the tournament again, fingers have to be pointed about to management, I think, Steph. So no pressure.
Yeah, that's fair. They can send it back to me. I mean, I cast my opinions on everybody else's mismanagement when it happens. So if I can't pull this off with the roster I've got, they should probably never let me register in this tournament again. However, I will
Someone clip that. Someone clip that. Quick.
I will say that our roster is built to win the party and the tournament, and we have all agreed that it's not worth winning the tournament if we can't win the party. So we are going out to win this party like it was 1999 or beyond, and we are there. You will see. We have party uniforms. We have party strategies and tactics that we will be deploying. We're not talking about on-field tactics and deployment. That will just be a let them cook style of situation. However, we did get a half-decent coach in. We've got, we've got the second runner-up coach as part of the roster. We've got the top coach in America as our coach. Jesus, if we lose this, fingers are going to be pointed, Noah. Fingers are going to be pointed.
Yeah, and so while Steph gets all of his excuses in for CFC, we'll see you there. See you, we are streaming once again, just like last year. Crossing our fingers for no sewage volcanoes this time.
Yeah, we do not need a sewage tornado or volcano, whatever the fuck that was. What we do need is you to tune in and watch. They are also finding commentators from the tournament, so there's going to be some new voices. There's going to be some commentated in Spanish, some in German. I think that's really fun. I think it's great that we'll have some multilingual streams coming out, but it'll be great. And as with any tournament, as the tournament goes on, it is Swiss draw. So really, after like the first two games, like you play these top teams, and yeah, there's just a lot of teams that like you can kind of underestimate, particularly when you've got a roster as strong as the one I've got. It's easy to be like, we're gonna, and then you kind of like you look into them and like everyone on that team can play. Everyone there is good. They all have international experience, and that is why CFC is so good because out there having fun in the sun, drink on the sideline, a little more lax than you would at a world championship tournament, but not so lax that the hands are off the rein. Everybody's there to win it, and if you're not totally switched in, even the mighty can fall.
Absolutely. And we will be back next week, and I can't wait to see the kind of apology Stef Pazzo is gonna give us if Oort TV don't win. I'm not. I'm cheering for Oort TV.
I'm going to manifest
cheering.
this, Noah. What the hell is the matter with you? Why are you manifesting the potential loss? We are going to win. I told you this. You heard it here first. Alti TV will win this tournament, and if we don't, and that's all for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, a pleasure to have you on board. We'll be back next week with a recap of CFC. We'll go back into retroactive seeking and do the down under stuff. But for today, that is all for Grabco on the ones and twos. He can hit those buttons like nobody else. The music to get us out of here is the button I'm looking for right now, Grabco, because with that, for Noah Brinkworth, I've been Stef for Pazzo. Thanks for joining us on Shot for Goal. We'll catch y'all next time.